join our musing. This is viralconnectivity.com/live is where you come in, hop on in, say hi, and let us know how's your Monday going. And before we get into how the Monday going,
are for musing. That's the way I look at it.
let's muse about beer. What's happening
Right?
in the world of beer?
Now, first of all, I don't even like beer.
Me neither.
I don't. But I think this is a great example of like the world we live in and the ways in which things are changing in interesting ways and how people have a choice to find interesting solutions.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
So what is the solution, Mr. Ramsey?
Well, I don't know because I don't know anything about the beer world and the chemistry world.
So what's happening? What's happening in the beer world?
So what's happening in the beer world is supply is based on consumption metrics, right? And so you've got all these beer companies that were producing beer at their normal level, and now there's huge stockpiles of beer that, you know, beer doesn't last forever. Like it does go bad eventually. So they're saying that there could be, what did they say, like 1 million kegs of beer now that are ready to start going bad. And so you go, well, I don't get
10 million gallons. 10 million gallons of beer, which makes about $1 billion. $1 billion in beer. How drunk would you be?
And that's just one example. That's just one example of, like, that's just beer. Certainly there must be other things as well that were set up on this steady or relatively steady supply system. And now, because people aren't going to restaurants and they're not doing their normal consumer activities, stuff's just, and I saw, like 3 weeks ago, probably, when all this really started getting intense, I saw of all things on TikTok, I saw a video of a guy who owns a wholesale food distribution service. And he was pointing to pallets and pallets of onions that normally he sells to restaurants. And it's the same thing. Like, an onion don't last forever. Like, and he's like, we're just going to have to start dumping them. He's like, we got no one that wants to take them.
But there are hungry people. What's going on?
And that's what you would think. But what happens is that's always what people say about food. They're like, but there are hungry people. And you go, yeah, but how do you get it there? The logistics of it are more complex than we understand because that's not our world. Like, it's not like you just go, all the hungry people are right there. I'll just bring it right there and give them the food. You know?
But I mean, we live in cities and trucks are driving, right?
But so this is what happens, right? There's no existing infrastructure for helping those people the way you think there would be. So if you're the guy with the warehouse and you're already going to have to trash that product and lose that money, is it also on him to use his trucks to ship it and incur further losses?
Well, but there are like nonprofit organizations and people who are
they're not set up to do this thing.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, if people are willing to put their heads. So this takes us back to the LinkedIn thing. Yeah. Go back to the LinkedIn screen, and look at the comments below the article.
Yeah, so this one, rapidly innovate, pivot, partner, slow down, pause, package,
right?
Quit. Yeah.
People who are in some of these worlds are thinking like, well, you could do this with it and you could do this with you. Okay, so you've got the idea, but then how do you deliver the idea? Like, how do you get the right people together to form a solution?
There you go. Here's this one is like, repurpose it as a meat marinade, barbecue sauce, shampoo, if it's fermented. Agriculture, get creative and use it rather than waste. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, yeah. So yeah, I mean, we have to change. What's that?
It still takes people, though. That's the thing. Someone's got to coordinate. The ideas are beautiful, but this is the real challenge, right? As you go, it's not as simple as going, well, just blah, 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 blah. It's always like, okay, but how?
Right. But you know what? The beauty of it right now is that we have the time and we have the technology, right, to innovate. And there are a lot of people who are looking for ways, right? Like, so one of the things that was going on in my mastermind circles is, rather than going and creating a new course or a new product or something like that, go find the people that already have the course. If you have the infrastructure to help them, then JV, right? So you do the marketing, They do the course, and you have a course to sell, and now you have the audience. They need a thing, so let's do that. Um, but I think you're right. It does require a new level of thinking, and it's not impossible. It's just different.
It requires a new level of thinking, and it requires a new level of relationship
Yep.
building, because we get in our compartments and we think of like, this is what it takes for me to do my job. And all of a sudden you're like, if I really want to do this solution, I have to get in touch with other people who can help me create the solution.
What a wonderful problem to have. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
seriously, like we're actually in a good place. Where, you know what, the biggest challenge is that something that didn't occur to me, and I have been bitching a lot about people who are just complaining and not doing anything, right? Like binging Netflix, watching movies, and not using all the free resources that became available because of COVID to actually learn something new and adapt and improve their skills and actually take a step further. And then one of my friends, she's a teacher, and she's like, I miss my children. I'm very sad that I don't get to say goodbye. And there's so many kids with problems that I can't help. And I'm like, what kind of problems? So one kid, his parents are divorced, and so and they're both working. So he had to go and stay with his grandparents in San Marcos. So no more parents. Another one, living in a house with 14 people because some of them got laid off, and you know, and none of them speaks English, so they can't help with homework. Another one, no electricity because the mom is a single mom, got laid off, now looking for a job. Another one went to visit their parents in his dad in Mexico, can't come back because the borders are closed. So I'm like, okay, so for these people, I have no solution. Like the only solution that I could think about is you still have a computer in the palm of your hand. You could still figure out a way, right, to like learn something new. But if someone doesn't have electricity, I like now
Yeah.
what, right? Like I'm
Yeah, that's
like,
I have a one of my best friends, his daughter is a teacher at a public school system in Florida. And when we got to that point in the response where they started sending students home, up here in New Hampshire, the vast majority of the districts were like, all right, we're going to do telelearning, we'll do webinar based learning, yada, yada, yada.
why?
So I was talking to him and I said, is your daughter doing it? And he goes, no, she's just home. And I go, how come? And he goes, because the kids that she teaches, their families don't have access to that kind of technology. And
Yeah,
it's again, it's easy to
yeah.
take for granted, right? That we think everyone's got stuff. No, there are still a lot of people who don't have, their economic situation is such that they don't have
They
the
don't have a
ability for
phone.
their
They don't
children
have a
to do
phone.
that
Like
stuff.
you can go on the phone. You can do Zoom on a phone. Like everybody has a phone,
But
no?
you can't, but now you're diversifying, like it's not as simple as we're going to have everyone sit down with a laptop, or we're going to have everyone sit down with a tablet, or like you start getting into so many different, like literally households that maybe one parent has a phone, but they don't have Wi-Fi and they have to, like they're
Yeah, the
on like a
data.
pay as you go plan. And
Yeah,
there are things like that are
yeah,
still limiting a lot of people.
yeah.
And it takes us back to the beer thing, right?
Why?
Is very serious economic disparities still exist in the United States and all over the world. And simultaneously, what's so weird to think about all that is we also live in a world where a large segment of people are really so well off
Mm-hmm.
that we've got so much beer for them to drink
Yeah,
that now that they're not going out to restaurants all the time like they were used to doing,
yeah,
that beer is going to go to waste.
yeah.
It's a really strange thing to think about.
It is. Uh, can they not sell it kind of like the liquor? Get liquor in 60 minutes side.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Again, it was
Yeah,
it's hard to wrap your head around the scale of it, like again, the logistics of it. Would it take to make that happen? Maybe, I just don't know. Like, and
yeah.
then again, that's just one example. That's just beer. What about
Well, toilet
other
paper is still out,
yeah.
right? We still won't pay the toilet paper. Where's the toilet paper? Not only that, flour. So I found that in eggplants. I craved eggplants this week, and so I went to the store. No eggplants. I'm like, how come? And then I come back a week later. No eggplants. No flour. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's that store. So I go to a different store next to me, eggplants, flour, stuff. So, I'm starting to wonder. I was like, is it localized? Like, is the issue kind of like, well, we don't have toilet paper here, but we have it there. We don't have, like, it's the same store. It's the same, branch thing, just this different location. So, it is very interesting how you can find some things in one place, something in another, and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's
Yeah,
like it's the things that we become accustomed to that we think of as simple
yeah,
are in some ways and are not, in like the complexity of global markets,
yeah.
like of that's what I used to talk about that with my dad. I still do a lot. My dad, when he retired from his white collar job, his retirement gig was he became a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's going to turn 80 in a couple of months. And this will be the first year that, oh, now my dog wants to go out, of
That's
course.
fine.
So we were talking about this idea that people would come up to the farm stand that he would maintain, and they'd come up in like May, and again, we live in New Hampshire. We live in the Northeast. Like we have a cooler climate.
Yeah.
And so people who live here in our own state would come up and say, "You got tomatoes yet?" And my dad would be like, he said he'd want to go, "Are you kidding me?" Like, but it's because for a long time now, people have gotten so used to being able to go to a supermarket and get a
Right.
tomato at any time of year.
Right.
They literally don't understand how long it
Seasons.
takes to grow a tomato, and how when the frost is finally out of the ground and you don't want to plant them too early, because if there's a late frost, it'll kill them.
Right.
So here in New Hampshire, you wouldn't plant a tomato plant until the end of May. And
So when you're
so for
getting it
someone
in
to
like
even, and
June,
then it
July?
takes a certain amount of time for that plant to grow to the point where it actually makes a tomato. So you're not going to get a tomato till late July at least.
2 months.
And so
Yeah.
people come up in May or June and go, "You got tomatoes yet?" And you're like, "Dude, it doesn't work like that." I'm going to go let the dog out. You talk.
Let the dog out. So what I want to talk to you about, guys, is live streaming, because there are a lot of changes that are happening in live streaming right now. Some of them you should know about. But before all that stuff, if you want to learn how to do live streams, and if you want to, I'm going to share with you a lot of information, and it might confuse you, and you might go like, I don't know which way to go. I got you covered. So if you want to learn how to use live streams, stick around, because I'm going to tell you how you can do that in a few hours without all the jazz and all the complications. So a lot of things are changing because of Zoom, right? So before COVID, nobody wants to do live videos and nobody wanted to do live conferencing. People would travel, meet in person, because that's more authentic and you can connect like that. And it was a lot of effort. Now COVID came and Zoom blew up, right? And now all these companies are realizing, holy crap, there is a market. People are interested. We should open our own things. Which to me, Paul, I'm kind of like I'm thinking Google should shoot themselves in the huevos, because too early, like the lack of vision for one of the leading companies in the world about what video conferencing is like and where it can go. And now everybody's modeling Google Hangouts. I'm just like,
Well, but here's my counterpoint to that.
okay.
You can't ding them on vision too much, because they were the first one to do it. They just didn't
Yeah,
stick with it.
they were the first ones in a lot of things, right? But then it's
Right.
kind of like the Google graveyard. Oh, this is a
Right.
fantastic thing that we all use. No, we're gonna sunset that.
Yeah.
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 Like Google
So,
Hangouts
I
was
mean,
amazing. Not just Hangouts on air, but just like Hangouts, right? Like the collaboration, everything that we're doing. And so now Facebook is bringing this in. Skype is bringing it in. Microsoft is trying to capture the market as well. And Google is trying to do that in the corporate world with Google Meet, with G Suite. So you would pay $6 a month and you would get access to Google Meet that works inside the corporation. And so what's coming up is actually kind of interesting, especially from Facebook. And the weird stuff about coming up from Facebook is that it's Facebook. Facebook said that they are not going to be listening to your video calls.
sure they're not. Sure they're not.
We don't want all of you to come here and talk about whatever you want to talk about so that we
Yeah.
can capture what you're talking about and serve you
Yeah.
more of what you're talking about. None
That's
of that is
like
happening.
I'm trying to think of what the appropriate like meme is for that. I'm like, that's like when you used to your friend would get out of the car and they'd walk back up, and right as they went to get in the car, you'd pull the car forward. I mean, that's, you'd be like, no, get in. It's okay. I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. And then
Right.
they'd get out the door and you'd pull it forward again. Like, that's my instinct. I'm like, eh.
Yeah. So what they're doing in order to compete with everything that is out there, especially with Zooms, they are now they're creating what it's called Messenger Rooms. And in Messenger Rooms, you'll be able to speak to up to 50 people for free, unlimited, for as long as you want, in a kind of a Zoom environment. And you can, do all the things that you are doing with Zoom right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to, you'll be able to share your screen or not, but you can invite anyone to join you. The twist on that is very interesting is that they're going to open it up just for your friend. Like you can decide, is it only for my friends? Is it only for my group, my Facebook group? Is it available to the public? And you'll be able to connect it to Facebook events, Google Plus. You'll be able to connect it to Facebook events, and you'll be able to charge for it. So if you want everything that you're doing to run through the Facebook ecosystem, you'll be able to have invitations coming out of Facebook and take payments through Facebook and then connect with people through Facebook. You
Are they
already
going
know
to take
how
a
I feel
percentage
about
on
that.
that?
What's that?
Are they going to take a percentage on it?
I'm assuming. I think it's kind of like
Yeah,
the same
right?
way they're doing with, yeah. And you know how I feel about running everything through one platform. I love it.
I've heard about that.
So, in other news, Facebook is also going to open up WhatsApp. So, a lot of people in the US are not using WhatsApp, but most of the world is. And right now, WhatsApp, you can have video chats 1-to-1. So, Facebook is going to open it up so that you can have up to 6 people, I believe. Let's see that. Up to 6 people, 8 people. 8 people, you can have group calls in WhatsApp and interact with each other. Now, WhatsApp is supposedly encrypted and supposedly private. It's the Facebook ecosystem. And as long as we're talking about the Facebook ecosystem, you can also now, you'll be able, not now, but probably at the end of the month, you'll be able to watch Instagram live videos on your desktop, and people will be able to move that from the stories where they disappear after 24 hours into Instagram messages. So it will look something like this. So if your yoga instructor or your gym, celeb or whatever is doing live and you are not able to watch them on the phone, or you want to watch it like very big because they're doing exercises and you want to exercise with them, you'll be able to watch that on your desktop as well. So there are a lot of options. Speaking of options, Microsoft is yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I'm just curious, so I'm still trying to let this sink in because you're bringing it to me like everyone in the audience for the first time. But like, you've had a little more time since you found it to think about it. What are we really talking about here? Are we really just talking about the marketplace getting more crowded, or is something advancing here in a way that really matters?
So I think conversations. I think Facebook is realizing, like everybody else, that people just want to talk to each other. Do you remember Blab? Remember Blab?
I remember hearing of it. I never used it.
Me neither, because it was silly. But they wanted to be, so Hangout came out first, right? And then Blab came out, and Blab was modeling Hangouts, but they wanted to take over the streaming industry, right? Like, so Hangout on Air was first, and Blab was like, ooh, look at that, all the streamers, we want to be the go-to destination for streaming. Let's open this up. And what happened is that people connected on Blab and just blabbed with each other. So they were not interested in streaming. They were more interested in just blabbing or hanging out and talking about things that they're passionate about. And so Blab found that people would spend 4 to 6 hours on the platform just talking to each other. and they would stream for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, right? So they were like more into the like, let's just connect and talk to each other, then let's build this brand and authority. And so at the time, I was like, look, guys, this is a fantastic opportunity to create communities for people who want to talk to each other, just want to talk to each other, just want to connect, right? Blab decided to shut it down because, as they said, we didn't want to be a platform for people to just come in and blab. We wanted to be a streaming platform.
Which is like the ultimate irony, right?
Right? And so now what Facebook and all these other people are realizing is that if we can't talk in person, we want to talk online. How can we make it so that we talk online without other people Zoom bombing us, right? Or being asshole and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Facebook is coming out with a link that you can just share with your friends or just share with, your group. Hangout Meet is the same thing. It's inside the organization. Now we can talk. Microsoft Teams, inside the organization, we can talk. But then you have all these people that you're connected to on WhatsApp and on Duo that you want to engage with, and you can connect with your peers also face to face.
You know what was really strange to me back in the Hangout days that I ended up thinking was really cool that I don't know if anyone else does now, but based on what you're saying, I think someone should, is remember how when they first started Hangouts, and it may have stayed the whole time, but like if I started a Hangout and six people were in this Hangout, I could leave even though I started it and it would still keep going.
Yep.
And I think that sort of goes to what you're talking about, is like if you had a way in which you could say somebody, like it really is like a digital room that people can just come hang out in,
you can
and
do
people
that with
can
Zoom.
come and go and it doesn't have to die.
Yeah, you can do it with Zoom. So not a free version of Zoom, but you can do it with Zoom. You can still do it with Hangouts. I don't know if you can do it with Meet because that's your organization, like that's your G Suite. I don't know. You have been playing with starting Facebook Lives directly from Facebook. So can you do that from Facebook Live?
I don't know. I never thought about using it.
I never thought about leaving the people that I started the conversation with.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having people in your house and going like, okay, you guys, you hang up in the living room. I'm going to bed.
Yeah. It's like, I got to go to bed. So, but you feel free to stay and talk as long as you want. Or I got to run to the supermarket. If you're here when I'm back, great. If not, no big deal.
Right. Lock the door behind you.
Yeah.
So I'm more interested in, both aspects of it, right? Like one aspect, let me give you a platform on my own domain, right? Don't build your home on rented properties. So let me give you a platform where you can come in and blab about the stuff that we're all passionate about. So we in my community are passionate about building a brand, engagement, audiences, right? Audience building and monetizing that. So if we're all passionate about this, let's talk about all the ways that we can do that together. But do it on my platform. I don't want to build Facebook properties, or I don't want, Zoom to disappear one day, even though I think they're public, right? They're public now.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're public. They went public last year. So, but still, I want to bring you and I want to make sure that like, hey, if you want to talk to one of the other community members and I'm not there, you can still do that on my platform. So hop on in and talk to them as much as you want. You don't need me, right? It's a community. Community doesn't have a leader, right? It's a community and the members are connecting with each other. So let me provide you that space. And at the same time, I want to leverage live streaming like we're doing right now, be visible of all the other platforms wherever they are. And again, bring people right here to our site so they can come in and speak with us in real time. So I think what's happening, Paul, is that more people are getting used to the idea that you can use technology to scale intimacy, scale relationship, accelerate trust, right? And so these companies are like, okay, how do we become that platform that they're doing it on so that they come to our platform and stick on our platform and get used to our stuff? Which is kind of like Microsoft giving away Windows to colleges. So because if you learn to use Windows in college, when you graduate, you still use Windows and not a Mac kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not so the technology has been there since Google Hangouts, hasn't changed much, right? But the way to access it is changing. So Now you have more options. Now you can go the Facebook route, the Google Meet route, the Microsoft route, the Zoom route, the Skype route, right? Before it was just one thing and most people haven't been doing it.
But so here's what always gets complicated about that is, the research into how human beings make choices says the more choices you give them, the less likely they are to make a choice at all.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so when there was just, Google Hangouts and then Blab, when there was, like it was easier, but I think it's going to get a little weird for a while if all of a sudden there's 10 different ways to do this. I think that's part of the problem with, where social media in general is at is,
Yeah.
it was easy when it was MySpace because that's all there was. And then it was
Right.
easy when it was just Facebook. Now there's so many platforms, people's attention is so fractured,
Yep.
and so what you do is you get a lot of people that are small business owners that are trying to exist on multiple ones so they can attract people, right? But then their attention is fractured and not doing any of it particularly well.
Right.
And then even the people that are not small business owners, when they're on them, they're not using them particularly well, in my opinion. Like they're pretty much using them for, basically to numb themselves out and not have to think about whatever else in life is going on, that, instead of using them as, certainly there are people using them as beautiful forms of self-expression and stuff, but I think a lot of people using this stuff at this point, in fact, I would even say perhaps the majority of people using social media are using it as a distraction.
Yeah. So I love that you say that because I have a solution.
All right.
And the solution is, guys, is giving you a hands-on workshop for one tool that works on all platforms at once that you can use from your browser, not having to download anything, not having to be complicated with the tech like I am, but achieve the same similar results. And so if you want to do that, that's this Monday. And there's one thing that I really, let me take it back. So we all know that what stands between you and the results that you want to achieve is the 50 lesson course and the 5 weeks that it's going to take you to go through all the processes and all that stuff. You want to go live streaming, you want to do it now, and you don't want to take like 7 weeks to kind of figure it out. And so that's what I got for you. This Monday, in just a few hours, if you want, you can come and join me and look over my shoulder and talk to me face to face and share your screen with me. And I will show you exactly how to set it up so that you can go live on all platforms at once without messing with so much tech, without getting confused with how do I bring people in? How do I see comments? What should I have on my screen? Should I split screen? Should I just, have one screen? What's the right way to do it? I'm afraid of being on camera. I'm going to got you covered with that because I have a fantastic trick that will remove the fear completely. And if you go to this website, viralconnectivity.com/StreamYard one-on-one, you can see my past student talking about how they were afraid of being on camera and how we're just, in just a few sessions, fear is gone and they're looking fantastic. You can see the before and after. So if you are seeing a lot of people jumping into live streams right now and you're seeing all the options there and you're getting overwhelmed and you're like, what should I do? And you don't want to be like me and scan through all the articles and all the options out there to figure out which one works best for you, hop on in and I will give you a coupon to save you $400 on the course itself. So just put my name, Ifat, when you check out here, and you will get automatically $400 off. So you can hop on in so that it's a no-brainer for you and that you can start leveraging live streaming as well. And Mike Ryan says, love it. That went too fast. One more time. Thank you very much. viralconnectivity.com/StreamYard 101. Mike Stephan says, our company recently banned Zoom, but I still love it. Yes, a lot of companies are banning Zoom right now. That's kind of like the challenge of failing by success, right, Paul? Became big very quickly,
Yeah, right.
and then it's like,
It is. There's challenges that come with expansion and scale that I think, when you sit outside of it, it's easy to go, why didn't they figure that? But when you're trying to get all these things done, give them a break, like,
yeah,
but
and capturing market share is not easy. So they have been trying to do that. Uh, Facebook, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Facebook because they have the most audience. So if they're the one kind of like pushing, LinkedIn is rising, right? We have live streaming on LinkedIn that a lot of businesses are kind of like gravitating to. But the majority of the people,
well, I still come back to this is kind of like one of the moods that I'm often in lately is in some ways I don't care what any of them do because it's still I mean I do, don't get me wrong, I do, but I have these moments where I feel like I don't, because at the end of the day they're all just trying to figure out how they can make more money off of all of their users, which
yeah,
again is their right as a business. But I'm like, it's like you get too focused on that
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
like you get too, like we all want to make money, we all want to be successful, but at some point I think you wish more for people to think about like who's sitting around thinking how do we get all this beer
right,
used
yeah,
and in a way that helps other people, or how do we get all these onions shipped, and extra food in warehouse. Like I'm like, again, like I'm even okay with people making money, creating that solution,
yeah,
because
yeah.
again, ultimately it's doing something good for other human beings. But I think sometimes when you just keep getting focused on how can I
The
make
bottom
one more
line,
widget that gets a little more money out of
yeah.
my users, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, and what's really interesting is that how we kind of like shifted, I think, because of this pandemic to care more about each other, right? And like, hey, who are you hurting when you're not staying at home? Like, we have more about like, how are we helping other people? And there are great ways to monetize helping other people. Like, nobody says you shouldn't be making money, right?
Right.
Because money runs the economy. That's why we have the
Right.
stimulus
So we want to
checks,
keep everything
right?
going,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We want everyone to have money so they can do what they want to do
So
and
they can
keep
have
things
internet in
going.
the house and the kid can go on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
That like breaks my
But
heart.
again, I just think sometimes it gets almost like backwards kind of though, where when something like this happens, the people who do have existing infrastructure start thinking about, well, how can we include that so that we stay competitive? And I'm like, I don't think that's the right question. The question is like, but what do people need?
Yeah.
Like what are people, and you've done a good job of really talking about this. What people really want is a way to feel connected. What people really want is a way to cultivate their sense of human intimacy with other
Yeah.
human beings,
Yeah.
and I've talked before about the idea that all too often intimacy gets just associated with like
Yeah.
sexual intimacy. There's so many other forms of intimacy, and like human beings need intimacy. And so like when we're in the midst of this thing, how do we help people
Bring together.
connect and feel loved and have
Yeah.
the human intimacy that they need so that they're not just like, giving up and losing hope and
Yeah, yeah, and I what I loved about Hangouts is how it connected us around shared passions, right? And so now we can use live streaming and community like you're doing, and community like I'm doing to bring people like your community is not interested in the stuff that we're talking about. They're interested about like small business and how to grow and how to
right.
right. And my community is like, okay, we've already have a product, we already know what we're doing. Now we need to build the audience, build the brand. How do we do that? So two different conversations. At your side, if someone wants to be in both, they can be in both, but they can be like, I'm more passionate about what Paul is talking about. Let me go and join that community. And all you want to do is like talk to other people and brainstorm and be like, hey, can you look at this? Can you look at that? What do you think about this? Right? How do I get around this one?
Yeah.
Because we don't learn. We should do that one. How do we learn? We don't learn by being told, right? We learn by teaching others, by practicing ourselves, and hands-on. I believe that's the practice. But we don't learn by like watching someone talk about this thing, and we don't,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
What is it like? Someone talking, and then there's the writing, and
Well, I
then
mean, there's different,
reading.
you know, different cognitive theories around that. So it's not like it's just one thing, but
But there's
yeah,
the
that used
pyramid
to be
of
my world. So
there's the pyramid of learning. Have you seen that one?
that's like one model. Yeah, like you can get into pure cognitive science, like go all the way back to Piaget and Brewer. You can go into like Howard Gardner's work in multiple intelligences. There's like all these,
It's
you
a
know,
billion
again,
ways.
it's like everyone creates their own brands, you know, like
Yeah.
all these different, but yeah,
But I
there's
do think, like, hands-on is the best way to learn something. Otherwise, it's all theory. Like,
so
you don't learn it, right? It's not a learn, it's a,
yeah, one of the biggest things I find is immersion,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
one of the biggest things that almost always, in fact, I've always seen it work with people is when they immerse themselves,
Yep.
and hands on is really you going full in, right? It's you immersing yourself in the process. So I
Yeah.
think immersion is one of the keys, and that's where when you look at for a long time the um, people have been offering like language learning is one of the best examples, right? If
Yep.
you want to learn to speak Spanish, like you can get your app, you can get a program where they send you stuff, but consistently what you see is that it's people who go and study abroad and they live in another
Yeah.
country that's Spanish speaking for a semester. They're the ones who end up doing the best
I
because
did
they
that. I
jump
was
right
like,
in.
for the first 3 months in Buenos Aires, it was like, blah, 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 que, blah, 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 hola, blah, 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 blah. I was like picking one word out of an entire paragraph. And
Yeah,
then after 3 months, all of a sudden it's like, oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah. So immersion. So if you guys
Immersion.
want to immerse yourself,
What's
immerse.
work? You can take that back. You go, that's not just language. Like right now, in the midst of all this stuff, like what would be the one thing that you would most benefit from immersing yourself in? If you're like, this is a time where I'm one of these, I don't have my normal business flow going right now. I've got more time on my hands. What's the thing that would best serve me to immerse myself in so that I can help my business, grow
Yeah.
and adapt? It's a question that's worth pondering.
Yeah. And if what you want to immerse yourself is live streaming, I would invite you to join us right here. Next Monday, starting out in just a few hours, you will be a live streaming mastermind pro expert guru. And that's it. Tomorrow, I believe we are talking with your friend.
It's gonna be so cool. You wait till you see more cool stuff has happened. Jody Goudreau is gonna join us at the next episode. She's an occupational therapist. She went viral. Excuse me. She went viral on Facebook, and
It's funny.
she had a
Wait.
video.
You say viral?
I know. I go viral. This is like an association. So she had a video go viral on Facebook, and then it turned into other cool things. And it's a beautiful story, and I think you're all going to love it. So make sure you hang out with us as we talk with Jody tomorrow.
So that's Jody tomorrow. And then Thursday, we want to help you guys become legendary. So there's a lot of people who are, want to know that they can be more than they are today. And there are other things out there that will fulfill them in love, relationship, money, career. So I'm bringing you the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller, Tommy Breedlove, to come and talk to you about his best-selling book, Legendary. And we're going to give you applicable actions that you can take today to kind of like start positioning your life into whatever you want it to be. So we'll talk about what you want it to be, and then he's going to give you the playbook on how to get there. So that's part of I'm That Geek this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m. and right at this time, and we'll share with you the link. So if you're interested, imthatgeek.com/RSVP. Let you know when that happens, and you can come in and speak with Tommy face to face about your own challenges of getting to where you want to be financially, relationship, leadership, career, whatever it is. So tomorrow, Jody, right? Jody. And then Thursday, Tommy. And then Wednesday, we might actually show you how to clean your MailChimp account with one of my friends who is struggling. We'll see. So,
All right.
surprise!
we start doing, maybe we'll start cooking.
We'll start cooking.
There's people who need to learn how to make, we can cook, we can bake.
Well, I already made hummus, so, we're on path. So we'll see you tomorrow, guys. 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., right here on viralconnectivity.com/live. This is live, you see? It's kind of like an L and a V and a V.
So much. No, probably not.